In a company where I used to work, there was a salesperson named Mr. Y in the sales department. He was in his 40s, seemingly ordinary, and excelled in his work without making any mistakes. However, what caught my attention was that he always wore a bandage under his wristwatch. Moreover, his left arm was slightly longer than his right. Although I found it intriguing from our first encounter, I didn't see the need to ask. Years later, during a joint dinner after a project, I sat next to Mr. Y. After about an hour of exchanging stories over drinks, Mr. Y's bandage loosened a bit, revealing an unusual scar underneath. "Mr. Y, is that scar okay?" "Oh, it's nothing significant." I apologized for the insensitive topic. Mr. Y said he didn't mind, and then asked, "Do you believe in ghost stories?" Mr. Y slowly unraveling the origin of the scar. He recounted an incident from his high school days when he and his girlfriend went to a rumored haunted grove for a courage test. Despite the lack of any apparent supernatural occurrences, they found a neglected shrine with a small stone placed on the altar. The shrine, surrounded by decaying trees, seemed poorly maintained. The girlfriend, intrigued, picked up the stone and suggested keeping it as a souvenir. To which Mr. Y replied, "Knock it off, that's stupid." Then it would have been nice to put it back in its original place, but Mr. Y threw the stone into the forest. That was the end of the bile test, but little did he know, that decision would lead to a tragic event the next day. Mr. Y, who was commuting by subway, met his girlfriend at the station that day as usual and was waiting for the subway to come. When he entered the platform, his girlfriend's condition somehow seemed strange. Stumbling as if drunk, it felt like she was about to fall down. "Hey, it's dangerous. Are you in a bad condition?" Despite Y's worried question, the girlfriend only replied that it's okay. But the walk was still stumbling. The girlfriend, who was teetering, seemed to lose her balance and fall onto the track. "It's dangerous." Mr. Y held his girlfriend's arm with his left hand and managed to prevent her from falling. But somehow, contrary to Mr. Y's intention, his left hand let go of his girlfriend's arm. His girlfriend fell on the track and was hit by a train entering the station. In the sudden accident, Mr. Y broke down, cried, and kept calling his girlfriend's name. It was the 6th night of his girlfriend's death that something unexpected happened. Mr. Y, peacefully lying in bed, abruptly woke to a sensation of heavy suffocation. "Oh my God," he gasped, scanning the room, but there was nothing strange about it. Attempting to return to sleep, Y was again jolted awake by a suffocating pressure, as if someone was strangling him. Unable to endure it any longer, Y headed to the bathroom, contemplating staying awake for the night. As he looked into the mirror, a shiver ran down his spine. There was a distinct red mark on his neck, as if tightly gripped by a hand. "What is this?" Y pondered, realizing that for the first time, this might be a paranormal phenomenon. He returned to his room, covered himself with a blanket, and shivered with the light on. Nonetheless, he started dozing off. In his half-dozing state, Y felt the weight again. This time, kicking off the blanket, he finally noticed what was strangling him. It was his left hand. Somehow, when he drifted into sleep, his left hand seemed to act autonomously, attempting to strangle him. After careful consideration, Y hung a string by his bed and started sleeping with his left hand securely tied. Since then, I keep my left hand tied when I sleep. It's already been 30 years, Mr. Y said with a weak smile, removing the bandage to reveal his left wrist. "That's what I mean. If you keep sweeping your wrists, this is what happens," he continued, pointing to the unexplained scar resulting from repetitive injuries in the same area. "Is that why your left arm is longer?" I asked the question because I wanted to ask Mr. Y everything I was curious about. "I think so. If I knew this, I should have tied my right hand and ankle before sleeping." Mr. Y laughed as usual when he said so. "What happened to the stone you threw?" "I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. It was just a stone with nothing unusual. I still regret it if I hadn't thrown it away that day. Well, but if I die, I think I'll be killed by my left hand." Finally, Mr. Y concluded the story. After a while, I changed jobs and lost contact with Mr. Y. It's already been 10 years. If Mr. Y is alive, he will be looking at his 60th birthday now. I'm sure he's still tying his left hand when he's sleeping.